All right, so let's talk about some music for a bit, man. So I will cover Rapso and Breakups. That
Sure.
is not so much a new EP, but an EP that Daniel Hamilton and his brother The Face released last year, right? If you've checked out my previous, music review, sorry, I talked about A Busy, which was the collaborative EP between The Face and DNA 868 Music, right? And of course, well, Daniel showed up on three of the album's EPs, sorry, six tracks as well. Before I begin, I have to talk briefly about the title, because I know that the title might mislead some people going in, So let me just kind of express myself if I may, right? So Rapso and Breakups, right? Like so, right off the bat, I kind of saw this as a play on Kanye West's Oops, I meant Ye's album 808 and Heartbreak, right? It's
Right.
it's that kind of vibe, right? Where it kind of looks like it's something different, but they all kind of connect, and it has to do with something more emotionally driven, right? I.e., breakups or heartbreak, right? But I know that there'll be some people, or I should say, some trainees that will go into this expecting as they see rap, so they think they're gonna get like stuff like what the late great Robert Brother Resistance did,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But that's not exactly where the face is going with, right? But if you're familiar with his work, right, how he kind of sees rap, so he kind of sees it as all right. So how I gonna interpret it is like this, right? There's always gonna be this debacle about, rap music, being purely American, and
Right.
us being Trinis doing our version of it is us trying to do what Americans have done in the past, right?
Right.
But we could come and see now, well, we have Rapso, right, which is a incorporation of rap music and calypso, right? For better or for worse, it's kind of a amalgamation of the two, right? And that is already part of our musical lexicon, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So in his case, with the thesis case, for what I've noticed with his career, right, it's just basically kind of taking that and using that to this kind of, how to say, it's not so much an update of what Brother Resistance did, but just more or less acknowledging that yes, rap so does exist as a part of our culture, but I'm gonna show you basically that vibe, that I'm gonna lean a little bit more into the rap itself, right? But I'm still gonna incorporate bits of calypso into the music itself. I'm gonna still make it feel Trini and still make it feel lived in and whatnot, right? So you're not gonna look at my music and say, well, you're just copying what other Americans do. It's like, no, no, no. I'm taking what has already been established here and I'm just expanding on it, right? So yes, it does sound like your contemporary hip hop and well, a mixture of R&B, right? With
Right.
the inclusion of his brother, Daniel, with hooks and whatnot, right? But no, it's more or less just like an more like a progression, if you will, of something that does exist down here, and that's like the best summary I could give that, right? So no, don't go into this thing expecting Brother Resistance kind of like music. It's not that, right? So that's the rap part. The breakups part now is pretty interesting as well too, right? Because for me, I went in this thing expecting, well, a breakup album, right? But that's not exactly what we get here, right? But I kind of more see it as, if you're in that post heartbreak, period, right? That sort of stage where you're just kind of feeling down. You just put this EP on, and you just get that, you just feel that vibes, you feel that emotion. I just kind of go about your day. That's really what this EP feels like to me, right? Yeah, it is kind of low key. It is kind of like, just more emotionally based, right? But that doesn't mean that there isn't quality in here. Because yeah, I mean, from top to bottom, there's a lot of quality here for its short run time. Because yeah,
Right.
basically this is like about 16 and a half minutes, but we get a lot of quality here, right? So just jumping into the EP one time, right? So first track we have is "Stay Far From Me." This is currently the only single from the EP. It also has a really dope music video fit, which you
Hmm.
should definitely check out, right? I forgot to mention too. The Face actually reached out to a few producers to work on this. Even his brother Daniel produced a couple beats here, right? So in this case here, Hussy Beats, he's the one who does the first beat here, right? He comes with a bouncy instrumental, but it's very murky, in my opinion, right? It has these ghostly pitch shifted vocal chops sprinkled throughout it, right? And yeah, I mean the beat itself is a bop, Jenny. The whole song itself is a bop in my opinion, right? Daniel comes through on the hook and first verse, and pretty much he sets up the song's rather relatable scenario. So he's pretty much tired of this girl, treating him like shit. She pretty much disregards his feelings and his this decision making. So he's like, well, yeah, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And he's like, in the hook, he says, if it's just one thing I would ask from you, girl, stay far from me, right? Daniel, though, like he really shines on this track. I mentioned his work with the Busy, right? Before. But yeah, here he really comes through, with some great singing, great great songwriting, I must say, from him as well, man. He really does shine here. Even his flow is on point here, right? The face compliments him with some witty, slightly humorous, but genuinely displeased bars, right? Aimed towards his ex, right? And of course, knowing his work already, he'll drop like some pop culture references here or there, right? So he says, "Used to link with the sword Zelda, but my heart's break. So another princess I start save." There's another line where he says, "Superman fed up Alana, T'Challa chilling in Wakanda with a new Black Panther." It's just about the flow, right? You're not really supposed to think, but wait, no, what do you mean T'Challa like hanging out with a new Black Panther? What? You know what I mean? No, it's
Right.
the flow. That's what it's all about, right? And the flow in this from both artists, work here, right? So yeah, dope track, great way to open up the EP, right? Next off we have is Share Your Will, right? Here we get a more sunny and upbeat instrumental. It comes from The Boy. That's the producer's tag. And just compared to like what we got before, where it was all murky and kind of like low key and dark, here it just feels a lot more sunny and upbeat, right? Even the background vocal chops sound really upbeat here, right? Um, and here is just pretty much Daniel and the Feast, pretty much making another attempt at love, right? In this case, as Daniel states on the first verse and hook, this new romantic prospect is rather indecisive in terms of taking this relationship to the next level. They both been burnt before, but like Daniel's like willing to just take the next step with her and pretty much kind of persuades her to share her will with him, right?
Yeah.
Um, Lyrically, I like how Daniel keeps things very straightforward, very to the point. I like on the pre-hook where he sings, "Please don't make believe, don't make me leave." Or you could also kind of interpret it as him saying, "Don't make believe," right? So he's kind of
Right. Right.
saying
Yeah.
both, right? It's really
Yeah.
cool. Even the face who gets his own verse to shine, I mean, he sounds genuinely like willing to continue working on this relationship, right? So, in short, it's a nice laid back, mood setter of a track, right? I really enjoy this. Up next, we have Jano, right? This is easily my favorite track on the EP simply because I'm just a sucker for come up stories, right? And yeah, this is just pretty much the come up of the feast, right? He dominates this track except on the hook. Daniel comes through on the production here. It has this nocturnal sort of down tempo, and I would say a vaporwave vibe to it that I really enjoyed, man. The hook for this track is also my favorite, especially when Daniel says, Jano, that the little bit I have feel plenty. Thankful that I live in this life past 20. I can relate to that. Anybody can relate to that, right? If you're past 20, right? It's a humble brag, yes, but I love humble brags, right? Lyrically, the face kind of just delivers a summary of his early life and how he got into the rap game, right? He came from the south, deep, deep in the bush, as he says. He lined with his
Yeah.
PC instead of lineman on the block. The mall was far, Gulf City was with C3. I love that line. And then he finally got into rap. He started his own label. He had to deal with a lot of stuff in his life, like his aunt's passing, and it's just just that piece of just trying to build a career and just leaving something of value behind before he passes away, right? So yeah, love this track, man. Dope track, right?
Nice.
We now get to the second to last track here. We have Burning. Ballistic Boys Productions comes through with a really captivatingly smooth, groovy guitar-laced beat, right? That really serves as this great instrumental backdrop for Daniel and the Face to pretty much pay tribute to their significant others, man.
Right.
Daniel's hook is fantastic. And I don't know, for me, maybe it's just me, but the way how he says "darling," just that word alone, right? Yeah, that sounds to me like a tribute of sorts to Marshall Montano's "Love to You Tonight." If you remember that song that features
Okay.
Maximus Dan, formerly known as Magadan. That was like one
Magaran.
of the
Right.
first songs that included Magadan back then. Yeah, but that's how he sings that word though. Always kind of reminds me of that song for some reason. But maybe it's just me, right? The face raps about the euphoria he pretty much feels when he's around his girl. Points for his snap her fingers like a Thanos bar. I like that. That was cool. They even got singer songwriter Omar Jara, right? Whose music I had to familiarize myself with as I saw the name in the track list. I kind of had to do a little deep dive, and like he's really good though. And I thought like he came through with a great like final verse to kind of conclude the proceedings here, right? So yeah, Burning was a solid track overall, man. And then the EP closes on a really like deeply emotional note with Send Prayers, right? I would say if Burning is a tribute to a significant other, Send Prayers is a tribute to a loved one who passed away, right? I mean that's something that we all can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Daniel's instrumental, yeah, Daniel come through with the production here, is really appropriately melancholy, right? Even though it has this head nod inducing trap hi hats, right, Lee throughout it, but still, it's a sad song, right? But it works, right? As the title suggests, Daniel and the Face send prayers to friends and family they haven't seen in a long time, in particular those who passed away, right? Daniel's verse is truly powerful, though, as he expresses his assurance that one day he's going to reunite with those loved ones, one day, right? But in the meantime, he has to keep their memories alive in his heart, right? It's familiar lyrical territory, but given how hard it is to get through grief these days, you always need some sort of like lyrical reminder of that everything's gonna be okay, man. You know what I mean, regardless, right? Um, the Faces verse, however, is for me one of the standout moments on this album, but mainly because of how it just leans towards nostalgia, right? He's rapping about the friends he grew up with, right? Where recalling their school days and how like in a moment he talks about how he used to duck school to go to a bar and play pool, right? Is
Yeah.
like if you, I mean, we did stuff like that. What I mean, you may not have ducked school to go to a bar to play pool, but you did that, right? You did that, and you had your friends with you to do that, right?
You're up to go and play Street Fighter. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? And that's the vibe, that's the nostalgic vibe that he's building here, though, and this makes for a great, conclusion to this album as a whole, man. So yeah, I mean, this was just a heartfelt way to end an EP that was just basically made up of songs that just came from the heart, right? And yeah, that's really what we got here. So in closing, yeah, this was a solid EP, man. This is like I would say this is like a great um start off point to both Daniel and David's work. Um, and I just want to see these guys just continue to make to just craft great music, man. And just hopefully just like what I said with the Busy EP, come true with with some with a full album. You know what I mean? That's what I really want to hear from these guys, because I know they have it in them, right? But in between time, Rapso and Breakups is a pretty solid EP. Rating wise, I'm gonna give this a like 4 out of 5, man. I think that it is absolutely worth checking out. It's on Spotify right now. I believe it is
Right.
on Bandcamp as well too. So give it a listen. And yeah, again, what I mean, show the Face love, do show Daniel Hamilton love, show Omar Jara love, man. Show the producers love, you know what I mean? Because yeah, they're doing the damn thing here, man. So yeah, Rapso and Breakups is absolutely worth checking out.